Coming up next on Arizona Horizons Journalists Roundtable, fallout from Governor Ducey's budget proposal, and the legislature considers ways to make it easier to remove judges from the bench. The Journalists Roundtable is next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizons Journalists Roundtable. I'm Ted Simons. Joining us tonight, Mary Jo Pitzel of the Arizona Republic, Jeremy Duda of the Arizona Capital Times, and Mike Sunnix of the Phoenix Business Journal. Governor Doug Ducey's budget proposal is now 1 week old. What's the reaction down there? What's the fallout? What's going on?
I think generally it's been welcomed, by the Republican majority. The Joint Appropriations Committee hearing that was held on this early in the week. Not many questions, didn't last very long, so I think and this was because this was preceded by the Speaker of the House and the Senate President standing up with Ducey prior to releasing the budget saying, boy, we're on board with this. We really like this idea.
So the fact that inflation funding wasn't included and that the Medicaid situation's kind of hovering over the horizon, those sorts of things not causing too much consternation right now?
Well, not with people whose votes matter. Legislative Democrats, of course, they don't like the education stuff, they don't like the Medicaid. There's a lot of stuff in there they don't like, the university cuts. But the Republican majority, like Mary Jo was saying, has really so far been very cohesive on this. They like the way that Ducey's working with them on it. They all kind of have a common goal. They feel like he's pretty receptive to their ideas. He's willing to, if they come up with some other ways to, reach that goal, he's willing to listen. There's a couple of things that'll probably pop up as sticking points. This homeowners rebate on property taxes that Ducey wants to partially get rid of. A lot of Republicans don't like that. He wants to increase this vehicle licensing fee, which to a lot of Republicans is just another tax, and even if not, it still costs people money. They don't like that, but I don't see much else that's going to be a big sticking point for the Republicans. Is that
an assessment or is it a tax?
I don't know. We'll have to wait for the courts to figure it out over the next couple of years, maybe.
For Republicans, it's an assessment. If it's a Democrat, it's a tax increase, right?
Yeah. I should note that there is inflation funding in the governor's proposal. It's $74 million to, he more than that, to inflate the base funding level, and then $74 million to take care of that lawsuit where the schools were shorted. Now that figure is far short of the current number is now $331 million. It's far short of that from what the court has ordered, but it's about the same number that the legislature's proposed should settle this thing.
Indeed, but still, it's not what the courts are saying, and I wouldn't call it whistling past the graveyard here, but it certainly is wishful thinking.
Yeah, I think there's a split. The Republicans down there like this thing, the vested business interests like this thing because it keeps the Brewer tax cuts in place. They don't roll those back. But if you look at the media coverage and maybe folks outside of the Capitol and outside of political influence, they see the cuts to universities, some of the K-12 cuts, the cuts to the Commerce Authority and tourism spending, and there's concerns with that. But there is a split. In Republican circles, they like this. In business circles, they tend to like this just because the tax cuts are still there.
Well, I think there's some folks who, even though their interests are getting cut, are still kind of looking at it saying, well, it could be worse and we've got to do something. It's a deficit. Been hearing that from some of the chamber folks and folks in the business community about those Commerce Authority cuts, which were pretty substantial.
That's because Ducey's their guy, though. I mean, that's
but he doesn't like stuff like the deal closing fund. He always said in the campaign trail, no subsidies for waffle cones or sprinkles. But the Hospital Association, they took a pretty big hit with these Medicaid provider cuts. But when I spoke to them, he said, A, it could be worse, and B, one thing they do like is that this budget kind of signals that he's going to stick with the Medicaid expansion. That he's going to keep fighting that lawsuit. He's not going to roll that back.
Business guy. He was their guy in the campaign. He talks like they do. They like him. If this was Governor Raul Grijalva making these cuts to economic development or these things, you would see a much bigger cry and hue from the business community.
And I will say that the budget did hit its first little speed bump in the hearing this week when it was the issue of cutting the military family fund by almost $1 million came up. And the governor's office walked that back right away. And you sort of have to chuckle because in his State of the State address, Governor Ducey said, special interests aren't going to like stuff in my budget, and if they did, I'd be nervous. Well, we have now identified the first special interest that's ruffled by his budget, and it's the vets and they're going to undo that. And
It really shows the dynamic down there of not having moderate or liberal Republicans, limited Democratic majority, and just kind of a one-party monolithic kind of rule on stuff. And so these conservatives that are down there that run the show look at this thing and they don't see any problems with it, even though some folks maybe on the outside do.
Real quickly, as far as that Military Family Relief Fund, this was to help pay for some cemeteries, a couple of them being built in an existing cemetery, $900,000 or something like this. The idea was to take it, that idea gone, as Mary Jo said.
Real quick, too. I mean, people scream bloody murder. You can cut funding from a lot of things, and people say, well, gee, the money's got to come from somewhere. But start messing with veterans, and everyone down there is going to start complaining about that. And, Ducey, he reversed course really quickly. And when I talked to his spokesman, I said, the outrage got to him quick. He said, well, we appreciate the input from the veterans community, which is, polite way of saying, yes, the outrage got to us.
The reason for that budget move was to pay for some cemeteries, because it helps to pull down, I think, about $15 million in federal dollars, and they're not going to let that opportunity go by. So they're going to have to go find that other 900 plus million someplace else.
Yeah, and they said we'll find that
900
funding
plus
elsewhere.
Yeah, 900 million, holy smokes, that's a lot of cemeteries.
Veterans are a favored Republican constituency. You don't see the same kind of consternation over the cuts to the school for deaf and blind that are in there. So it's interesting to see what they care about, what they don't.
As far as prison beds, the idea of moving juveniles under 14 to counties, which of course the counties will have to start paying for, these sorts of reactions, anything?
Yeah, there's a little backlash, I think, from some of the, local governments. There's a few counties that are losing, a few $100,000 in like lottery funds, stuff like that. Kelly Ward over in the Senate, it's one of the only things she really told me that she really disliked about it is that, she represents Mojave County. They're going to lose some of these local government funds. Yeah, the counties aren't going to like the juvie stuff. And I remember Brewer pitched that before a few years ago and ended up, rolling that idea back.
What's interesting about that is some people have looked at this proposal to, we're not going to, first of all, we're not going to house anybody who's under age 14, and there are some offenders who are under 14, and then we're going to return these kids to their home county as maybe a little baby step towards that phrase that they don't like to talk about at the Capitol called sentencing reform.
Interesting.
People might be reading too much into that, but since we do have, the governor's budget does call for construction of 3 more prisons over the next couple of years at a 3-year price tag of about $100 million, sentencing reform is going to come up again.
If it does come up again, if you don't call it sentencing reform, I mean, if you change the name, is it possible?
Call it Common Core?
I was going to say, they did it with Common Core, not that it worked all that well, but can something like that get some legs?
No, not that legislature.
No,
I don't think anything that smacks of sentencing reform sounds you're getting soft. You're decriminalizing certain things such as drug offenses, and there's a little bit of support in libertarian wings of the Republican Party, but this is more of a law and order crowd down there. I can't see really it going absolutely anywhere.
Yeah, it'd be tough to see. I mean, at least for a little while. I mean, this is starting to gain a little bit of traction kind of on the edges in some Republican circles, but it's hard to see it happening anytime soon around here.
What crimes would you see the Republicans at the legislature softening things on or reforming? I struggle to find those, maybe unless they're white-collar crimes
perhaps
against
just giving
corporations.
judges more discretion on sentencing, rolling back some of those mandatory sentences.
Well, speaking of judges, there is an idea. We all know that in terms of retaining judges, you got the you retain, don't retain, yes, no, keep, go, and they constantly are retained. There's a move now to make, instead of just a simple majority, 60% would have to say retain in order for a judge to be retained. What's going on here?
Now, this is a proposal by Representative Phil Lovis, who wants this on the ballot in 2016. Yeah, it would go from 50+1 to 60%. To retain these judges who pretty much never lose their retention elections. I think we had one last year, and that was, I think, the first ever. Most of them still clear 60% because most of the people who vote on these things, the ballot's like 20 feet long, and you just could either leave it blank or vote yes on every one. I think 4 judges, last year would have lost their retention elections if they hadn't gotten. If this 60% benchmark had been in place then. But what it would do is it'd make it easier as if, one of these judges ticked off, the legislators or, activist groups or whatever. It would make it a little bit easier to launch, kind of a campaign to keep them from being
I'll put
retained.
a caveat on that. If they ticked off conservative activist groups on something, then or they would able to maybe try to launch something and take a couple people out. If you annoyed the Center for Arizona Policy or one of the socially conservative groups or somebody on immigration on the right there, then they could go after somebody. I think the legislature legislature, a lot of conservatives look at the judiciary and they see the Ninth Circuit, they see the gay marriage rulings at the federal level, and they impose those types of views sometimes on the judges here, which are mostly pretty conservative, pretty at least down the middle. And we've only had one that go out, but I could see them trying to go after, cherry pick a couple to go after that they see as liberal.
So let me get this straight. There would be 60% needed to retain a judge as mandated by lawmakers who only need 50% and voted on by the public, which again, it would only need 51%.
There is a little bit of irony there. I don't think Representative Lovis or anyone else down there would want to have to get 60% to get reelected. That probably a bridge too far for
And
him.
this is a ballot measure. There's a lot of voter confusion on these things. It's down ballot. Sometimes they're hard to figure out what a yes is and what a no is. So it wouldn't be any guarantee it would pass.
I think it's just another way to come into this whole issue that we've seen folks every year try to find a way to rein in the judiciary. Can we make these can we get rid of this merit selection system that we have in Maricopa and Pima, and I think now Pinal counties? So that's not working. So maybe you go another way.
And one point is that this, I believe, would only apply to the judges in the 3 counties where you have these commissions who select the nominees that the governor chooses from. In the other 12 counties, the smaller counties, they're elected in a more traditional
So 50%
election.
works there.
So it's not a retention election. They actually have an election with an opponent and a campaign and all that.
There's also word of a 2/3 vote by the legislature would be enough to remove a sitting Superior Court judge, Court of Appeals, Superior Court.
Can you imagine this? We have the legislature right now in a Superior Court fighting the school inflation funding ruling. We have the legislature in court right now, making their case on Medicaid expansion. They had lost in the first round. My goodness, so this is allowing some of the plaintiffs in the case to then effectively have a vote on removing the judge in their case.
And they wouldn't need a reason to vote them,
Yeah,
correct?
I mean, the legislature can already impeach a judge, but for high crimes and misdemeanors or gross malfeasance in office, for this, it's kind of whatever you feel. You feel like they're judicial activists and you don't really like the way they ruled, then hey, you can take them out with the same 2/3 vote. You just don't really need the same good reason. And when these proponents talk about, well, you need to rein in these, activist judges. This is from, I think it was Warren Peterson, the sponsor of this, is saying, you can tell pretty easily what some of the judges and rulings are talking about. Going back to the K-12 case that you're talking about, where the Court of Appeals ruled that that or really means and you have to fund both of these K-12 funding measures, and the Supreme Court upheld that. That's where you get into, are people going to use this just to try and get rid of a judge who made a ruling they don't like?
I think the motivations from Republicans and conservatives on this is more around social issues. Yes, they could use it in some of these budget cases, and it's very concerning. But I think you look at school boards and how the conservative folks would try to get people to run for those. And they see a judiciary kind of nationally where it's maybe a little more liberal than they are on social issues, abortion, gay marriage rights, those types of things. And so I think it's a way for them to say, hey, if we can pick off a few judges, or if we can take some out that are extra to the left, we can make the courts a little more conservative.
But again, they can only take this, so the voters have to agree to do something like this and change the Constitution.
Yeah. And that's a tough go to get that. And again, they would need 50% instead of 60%.
Okay, all right. So don't confuse me now.
No
with these
2/3
numbers.
vote needed there.
We could have a really, really long ballot in 2016.
Oh, boy.
I think that this last go we had three ballot propositions.
Almost none, yeah.
And look, if all these things were to come to pass, and frankly, often a lot of these proposals for sending to the ballot the legislature doesn't put them on in the odd numbers year. They hold them back and wait till next year, perhaps more for strategic reasons and to see what else develops. But nonetheless, we're looking at a pretty big ballot.
But the key to both of these things, and again, if they got on the ballot, are they going to pass? There's a lot of confusion. But if they had a sugar daddy come in and spend a lot of money, Koch brother money, that really pushed this thing and talked about, liberal judges and what they do, or some, horror stories about judges they'd like to be able to get out of there, you could see the Republican-oriented electorate maybe passing something like this.
Think so?
Maybe. Hard to say. If you have to convince people of the real need for it, and then presuming no money's coming on the other side, because you saw at least a little bit of money come in against the last ballot measure that was trying to overhaul merit selection and make it easier to rein in the judiciary.
The idea of body cameras for police, a couple of ideas. One would require police to wear body cameras. The other would be that fatal shootings would be investigated by outside agencies. This is being introduced by a Democrat, I believe.
Yes.
So.
DOA on that bill?
Well, let's just go a little further with it as far as
I think you're
Talk
going
about
to.
the
I think you're going to see local police departments do this anyways. After Ferguson, after everything that's gone on, I think a lot of local police are looking this, are already doing this. Some already have those type of body cameras. Taser, which is in Scottsdale, is one of the companies that do this, and it protects them. It takes all the doubt out of things. It keeps them from getting sued a lot of times. It keeps them from getting to the truth, which I think a lot of good-natured folks at police agencies and prosecutors' office want to get to. So I think whether they have these laws in Arizona and other states, I think you're going to see major city police departments, county sheriff's offices do this anyway. I think there's a lot of pressure on them just to do it because it's the logical, common sense thing to do.
But isn't there also, there's a concern regarding privacy here as well, not only for the police, but for the victims or suspects or whomever's involved?
Definitely, and it raises questions, as any kind of new technology does, or any new application of technology. Or would that body camera footage be, is that a public record?
Right,
Geez,
right.
wouldn't television stations, like to run some of that? So it does raise a host of questions.
And that's some legislation we're likely to see that's going to be far likelier to pass because it's not going to be from a legislative Democrat. Senator Kavanaugh wants to run a bill kind of streamlining or kind of making uniform standards for body cameras for the agencies that choose to use them, not forcing anyone to do it. And he's very concerned about are these public records? Can people get them whatever he wants? He wants to severely limit when that can be released. He said these people aren't going to be free cameramen for reality shows and bloggers and the internet and whatnot. So that's probably a lot likelier to go anywhere than Representative Bolding's plan, simply because
I think that's a lot likelier to get challenged in the courts because of the First Amendment and public records laws. 911 calls are disclosed. You see these types of camera stuff shown in all kinds of other states. It's a public record, and I think if they pass that, they would probably face a lot of challenges, especially from media companies. I think maybe the Republicans will get on board with this Democratic bill because it makes sense. You think about Ferguson and how much easier things might have been if we would have seen the footage of this for the grand jury, for the prosecutors, for everybody involved.
But there you get into, then you're into a state mandate on local governments, and I think, as you pointed out, a lot of local governments are likely to be going down this path anyway, at their own expense. I mean, there's
how
a
do
cost.
law enforcement agencies feel about it? If they don't
Right.
want it, then that's not going to get passed. John Kavanaugh already, vowed that this thing's going to go down. So,
Well, I'm guessing the outside agency requirement would be one that would be not thought of too highly.
Definitely.
Explain to our viewers, what is a caucus? How open is it? Why don't open meeting laws apply? And why do House Republicans want to close their caucus meetings?
Well, we could start with a couple of definitions. I mean, a caucus is a gathering of people with a with a like-minded agenda. So, at the legislature, there have been many caucus, whatever the plural would be. But there's a Republican caucus, the Democratic caucus, and over the years we've also had sort of special interest caucus, the mining caucus, and the veterans caucus, and the Latino caucus, and the Native American caucus. And separate story, but Senate President Biggs and House Speaker Gowan are interested in limiting the use of that word caucus only to the two parties that are operative at the legislature. They'd like the other guys to just call themselves working groups, et cetera. And so those are informal meetings among members of a body, and the House is looking to close it, so the House Republicans, so they can have better, more frank, deliberative discussions.
Yeah, I feel like if these things are open, then we're all there in the press. There's a lot of lobbyists there. Members of the public can come in. I feel like maybe some of the members will be more inhibited in what they say, or they might be less so. And they see the press. You see the press. You see a camera. You see a notebook. You start grandstanding.
But isn't that kind of what?
That's what the floor. That's what the floor is for.
This kind of reminds me, I think the previous president, President Bush, had meetings, and the vice president had meetings with oil company folks and working groups, and there was questions about how public that should be. It's basically to squeeze out the press and other people from coming in here, because you can go to these caucus meetings, you can see disagreements within the caucus, you can see who's backing these things, who's writing these bills really, which lobbyists, which groups, and the staff members will talk about it, and sometimes they'll give some hints about the real motivations for bills and who's for it and stuff. And so you see, and so why would want that to be public? That would only help serve the press and the media and everything.
Except that it's been public for forever, and at least in the House, the caucus rooms for both the Republicans and the Democrats have cameras, so it's televised on the legislature's own website. Somebody can sit in Greer and watch the Republican caucus on Tuesday mornings if they want. It's a service. It's transparency.
Well, but and again, I think that Steve Montenegro was saying they're going to limit exposure, but in a transparent way. What does that mean?
Your guess is as good as mine on that. I'm not sure how you would limit something in a transparent way, but remember these caucuses, they can they can close whenever they want, and they sometimes do. They generally only, though, for like personnel stuff, leadership votes, if they're thinking about expelling someone, stuff like that. It's in, very limited circumstances.
Well, I think they see the local level where the city of Glendale goes into executive session every meeting to talk about the coyotes, and they see these local city councils go into the executive sessions, worse are closed, and I think they envy that. I think politicians and elected officials don't always like things to be open. The budget process isn't very open anymore. It's all hashed out on the ninth floor, and with leadership, we don't see a lot of hearings anymore, and so that's kind of closed off. So I think it's kind of a natural evolution. It's not ideological. I think whatever party was in charge wants things to be closed and closed off.
Now, this is House Republicans we're talking about here. What's the Senate reaction to this?
I haven't tested the waters on that. I don't know.
I'm sure that's separate chambers. They can do whatever they want. I haven't heard of any proposals.
I'll tell you one thing
do
though.
anything like that over there.
If you close it, you're going to have a much longer line of media outside that door, jumping on people as they come out. Because the more you keep something away from people, the more the more you want it.
They're having a line of lobbyists out there too. I don't think they want those meetings closed any more than we would, because you go to any one of those caucus meetings, bunch of lobbyists sitting there, seeing what everyone thinks of their bills, waiting to talk to folks. They could certainly exert some influence, I think, in terms of whether or not this proposal goes through.
It shows the lobbyists who they need to give Fiesta Bowl and Super Bowl tickets to get their bills passed.
All right then. Before we get out of here, there's yet another proposal. Talk about deja vu all over again, to create a lieutenant governor position. Why?
I think we should just take the mine inspector position and just make that the lieutenant governor. But why? Because because you need a lieutenant governor. Secretary of State does not say second in command for for the governor. And these proposals that come around every 4 years, maybe every 2 years, is to it creates another job in state government.
It creates another job for a politician, for campaign managers, for consultants, for dark money to be funneled to. For us to cover, we can have a short list, right? We'll figure out a short list of the Democratic...
To take part in a secret caucus?
To take part in secret caucuses, and attend state funerals, and to meet with girls basketball state champions.
Well, the sponsor of this, he doesn't want the lieutenant governor to be like the vice president of the United States, where you just go to funerals and official events, don't really do anything. He actually wants it to be the head of the Department of Administration, which is kind of interesting because that's a very technical job that whoever you pick for this might not necessarily be qualified for, but would give them, the thinking is, some kind of a learning position, somewhere you can learn in case you have to take over as governor.
And the other idea is that you would have some kind of voters would know what they're getting. So if you elect a governor and he or she has a lieutenant governor that comes along with them, so you're electing a ticket, as opposed to our current situation was Janet Napolitano up and leaves, and all of a sudden we've switched from a Democratic governor to a Republican governor in Jan Brewer, and those two didn't run together as a ticket.
Fife Symington leaves. Here comes Rose Mofford from
No,
Republican.
Jane was the other way around. Jane Hull.
I'm sorry.
Meekum.
I'm sorry. I got
another switch in parties there.
Another switch in parties there.
You can actually see an argument.
Predictability.
You can actually see an argument against it on that front, because if you have a corrupt governor, and maybe we've had a couple of those in our state history, and they get booted, you're bringing in somebody that's not with them, not on their ticket.
Right.
So you figure you got a crook in office, you get another crook taken over for him.
But there's an argument from the advocates in that when the voters vote for Secretary of State, most of them really have no idea that when they vote for Secretary of State, they're voting for someone who might become the next governor, and frequently does in this state.
But I'm getting the Symingtons and Meekums confused only because how many times has this happened?
I think it's been 5 times in the state history.
That's
and
a
they're 100
lot.
years old. So
We have a job
And-
retention problem.
And most of those in the last 30, 40
Correct.
years too. It happened. Last 4 decades happens a lot here.
So voters have twice, somewhat recently, said we don't like this particular idea. So obviously we're going to get the idea again. Voters going to change your mind on
No,
this?
zero chance of it ever passing.
Zero chance.
Zero chance, yeah.
Yeah, probably not. They voted against this overwhelmingly in '94 when, of all people, Jan Brewer was spearheading the push for it. They rejected it pretty overwhelmingly in 2010, I believe. And I know there are some people who had some issues with the way that was structured, where the 2010 proposal was the lieutenant governor and governor ran separately in the primary, but were forced to run together on a joint ticket in the general. This one, from this new proposal from J.D. Mesnard, would it was more like the presidential system, where you win your nomination and then you choose your running mate. it, and
Buddy system there.
and so the voters know what they're who they're voting
All
for
right.
in a ticket day.
All right, good stuff, guys. Thank you both for being here. We appreciate it. Monday on Arizona Horizon, Phoenix Mayor Greg Stanton will be here to discuss air traffic noise complaints, Super Bowl events, and other city issues. And we'll look at specialty schools that give students real-world skills. That's Monday on Arizona Horizon. Tuesday, ASU and the Santa Fe Institute open a new center on urbanization. Wednesday, the impact of major sporting events on the local economy. Thursday, former Ambassador Kurt Volker stops by to discuss world affairs. And Friday, it's another edition of the Journalists Roundtable. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great weekend.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.